Life changes when your investments beat your salary. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning. Your alarm goes off. Normally that would mean rushing to work, checking emails, sitting in traffic, and mentally preparing for another long day. But today something feels different. Instead of jumping out of bed, you grab your phone and open your investment app. And then you notice something surprising. While you were sleeping, your investments made more money than your entire monthly salary. No boss, no commute, no clock-in, just your money quietly working in the background. For many people, this moment sounds almost impossible, especially in a world where most people trade their time for money every single day. But for some investors, this moment actually becomes real. And when it happens, life begins to change in ways most people never expect. Not just financially, emotionally, mentally, and even socially. Because the day your investments start earning more than your job is the day your relationship with money completely changes. There is a moment many long-term investors talk about quietly. You rarely see it on social media because it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. But internally, it feels powerful. It's the moment when your investment income surpasses your salary. Maybe it's dividend income, maybe rental income, maybe returns from long-term investments. But suddenly, your paycheck is no longer your main source of income. Your money becomes your employee, and something subtle begins to change in your thinking. Instead of asking yourself how you can work harder, you start asking a different question. How can my money work smarter? Consider a simple example. Imagine someone named Mark living in Texas. For years, he worked as a software engineer. The job paid well and provided a comfortable life. Nothing extraordinary, just a stable career like millions of other Americans. But Mark had a habit. Every single month, he invested a portion of his income, sometimes $500, sometimes $1,000. He focused mostly on long-term investments like index funds and dividend-paying companies. No hype, no chasing quick money, just patience and consistency. Years went by. Markets went up and down, but Mark kept investing. Then, one day, he checked his portfolio and noticed something unexpected. His investments had generated over $9,000 that month. His salary from work was about $8,500. For the first time in his life, the money he invested was earning more than the job he worked for. He didn't celebrate loudly. He didn't immediately quit his job. He simply sat there quietly for a moment and smiled because he realized something powerful. For the first time in his life, freedom had become a real option. When investments begin to outperform your salary, work starts to feel different. You don't wake up on Monday with the same pressure because you are no longer working just to survive. You're working because you choose to. That small shift in mindset changes everything. You speak more confidently in meetings. You become less afraid of losing your job. You stop tolerating unhealthy work environments. And suddenly your career becomes something you control instead of something that controls you. Many financially independent people say something interesting. Investing doesn't just grow your money. It grows your courage. Another unexpected change happens when your investments start generating serious income. Your relationship with time begins to shift. Before that moment, most people focus mainly on earning more money. But once your investments start covering a large part of your income, you start valuing time differently. You begin asking questions you never thought about before. Do I really want to work 60 hours every week? Do I want to keep chasing promotions? Do I want to live in the same city forever? For the first time, you realize something many people spend their entire lives chasing. Money was never the real goal. Freedom was. Freedom to decide how you spend your time. Freedom to spend more time with family. Freedom to travel, create, and explore life without constant financial pressure. Think about another example. Imagine someone named Sarah living in California. She worked as a nurse. It was a demanding job with long shifts and emotional stress. Her income was solid but not extraordinary. Still, she followed a simple investing habit. Every time she received a paycheck, She invested a portion of it into companies that paid regular dividends. At first, the payments were small, $40, $100, a few $100s per quarter. Nothing life-changing. But she kept reinvesting everything, year after year. Eventually those payments began to grow. After more than a decade, her dividend income crossed $4,000 per month. Later, it reached around $7,000 monthly. Her nursing salary was slightly lower than that amount. For the first time in her life, the income from her investments was higher than the income from her career. She didn't quit her job completely. Instead, she made a different decision. She reduced her work schedule. 3 days per week instead of 5, more time for herself, more time with family, less stress, and surprisingly, nearly the same total income. Something else begins to change once investments start outperforming your salary. Your mindset slowly shifts from thinking like an employee to thinking like an owner. Instead of constantly buying things that lose value, you start focusing on acquiring assets. Instead of asking if you can afford something, you start asking whether it will generate income. This change may sound small, but it has a massive impact over time, because wealth is rarely built from a single big decision. It grows from thousands of small choices made consistently over many years. When you start prioritizing assets over expenses, your financial future begins to compound in powerful ways. There is an important truth many people misunderstand about investing. The goal isn't to become rich overnight. The real goal is reaching the point where your money begins working harder than you do. For some people, that might take 10 years. For others, it might take 20. But the people who eventually reach that point usually follow the same pattern. They stay consistent. They ignore short-term noise. They invest regularly. And they remain patient even when progress feels slow. Because one day, something unexpected happens. You check your investment account like you've done hundreds of times before. But this time you notice something different. The income generated by your investments is now larger than the paycheck from your job. In that moment, life changes. Not because you suddenly become incredibly rich, but because you gain something far more valuable. Choice. The choice to keep working. The choice to slow down. The choice to design your life on your own terms. And that is the real power of investing.